Oh, good evening, everyone. It's time for our rainy night talk again. Do you think the richer a person is, the weirder his faults become? We common people, when we have a headache, a fever, a sore back, or a sore leg, that's called illness. But look at those rich people. They have all kinds of illnesses that sound like a kind of mysticism. The protagonist of today's story is one of them. There's a big boss named Hagen who had plenty of money and was doing business all over the world. Logically speaking, such a person should be in high spirits and swift, seeing all the flowers of Chong and in one day. But he has a mental illness that flares up as soon as he takes a plane. Are you going to say he gets airsick? That's not the case. His illness is much more bizarre than airsickness. That day, Hagen had to go on a business trip again and boarded a plane to an inland city. The weather was bad, and the plane was like a sieve from the moment it took off, bumpy all the way. It was stuffy and hot in the cabin, and Hagen thought, oh no, the old problem is about to occur again. His face was pale, and he was sweating profusely on his forehead. It was really uncomfortable to look at. Next to him sat a big brother with a full beard, looking like the kind of person who says, "What are you looking at? What are you looking at?" But you can't judge a book by its cover. The bearded man, seeing Hagen like this, asked with concern, "Sir, are you not feeling well?" Hagen nodded feebly, untying a green bough from his neck as he reached for the bag of vomit in front of his seat. Look at the detail, the acting. You're sweating it out, and Oscar owes him a little golden man. When the bearded man saw him in a flustered state, he was particularly helpful in holding the green bough for him. Hagen, on the other hand, was very considerate and said to the bearded man, "Big brother, why don't you go to the toilet? I'm afraid I'll throw up later and affect your mood." When the bearded man heard this, he said, "Hey, this man is so sick and still thinking of someone else. What a good man." So he gave him a grateful look and got up and left. Here comes the point, everyone. As soon as the bearded man stepped forward, Hagen immediately became energetic. He wasn't airsick at all. It was a relapse of his old illness. What is it? Kleptomania, an uncontrollable urge to get something from someone else, to feel comfortable. With a glance, he fixed his eyes on the travel bag beneath the bearded seat. He reached in with lightning speed, pulled out a bag of candies, and put them in his pocket. With that, he immediately felt refreshed and recovered from his illness. When the bearded man returned, Hagen had regained his gentlemanly demeanor and smiled at him. Though it was just a bag of candy, for Hagen, the desire was fulfilled, and it was more effective than any panacea. What do you think this is? A mountain of gold and silver at home, just for this little thrill? We really don't understand the world of the rich. The plane landed on time. At the phone booth at the airport exit stood a man in a windbreaker named DeGasse, a private detective. When you hear private detective, do you think of the image of a windbreaker, sunglasses, and a cigarette in the corner of your mouth? But in reality, it's mostly like our DeGasse, where the boss shouts on the other end of the phone and he bows and hovers here, and the information is incomplete. His boss shouted over the phone, "Listen, keep an eye on a man who has kleptomania and is very rich. This is the first time he's gone out alone since his illness, and his family hired us for fear that he might cause trouble. Remember, he's wearing a very conspicuous green bow around his neck, and you'll surely recognize him." The gas hung up the phone, his eyes scanning the crowd like a radar. Passengers were moving out at that time. When our kind bearded man reached the exit, he found, oh dear, still clutching the green bough of the patient sitting next to him, But he's gone. He was looking around with the bow in his hand, trying to find the owner, when DeGas' radar beeped onto him. DeGas muttered to himself, "My boss is really good, with such a big beard, much easier to recognize than any bow. Why didn't he say so earlier?" He watched the bearded man get into a taxi, and without saying a word, he called a taxi himself and followed. DeGas was smug all the way. Hey, this target is staying in a luxury hotel. He's really a rich man. The commission for this trip is definitely not to be missed. The bearded man went into the hotel room, slammed the door shut, and began rummaging through his travel bag. At first, he was quite gentle, but when he couldn't find it, he got angry and finally threw the whole bag onto the carpet, cursing, "Damn it. It must have been that guy on the plane." He picked up the phone angrily and shouted, "Hey, the diamond is gone. Yes, the ones that were snatched. I deliberately put it with the candy. It must have been done by the fainting sick grandson next to me. He can't escape. I'll look into it right now. Look, it's all messed up now." The bearded man is no good man at all. He's a diamond thief. He immediately contacted the airline, using the excuse that the bow of the gentleman sitting next to him had fallen to him and must be returned to its owner. The airline checked and quickly found Hagen's name and the hotel he was staying at. The bearded man, with a fierce look on his door, had one thought in his mind: kill this lad and get my diamond back. He went to Hagen's room and knocked on it for a long time, but got no response. So he took out his tools and snapped the door open. He rushed into the room, so preoccupied with his precious diamond that he forgot to close the door. But it doesn't matter. Someone behind him has closed it for him. Who? Detective Dega, who was following. DeGas sneaked in, closed the door, and thought to himself, "Is this the quirk of the rich? Running into someone else's room just to get a bag of candy?" He watched the bearded man rummage through the closet and, unable to hold back, blurted out, "Did you come here just to find these candies?" The bearded man shuddered at the sound behind him, turned around and saw DeGas, thinking it was the diamond thief's accomplice, to silence him. Without saying a word, he grabbed DeGas by the neck and shouted, "You scoundrel! I finally caught you." DeGas rolled his eyes from being choked, still maintaining his professionalism, and struggled to say, I say, Mr. Hagen, let me go." He doesn't want to be rough with his protected person. The bearded man was stunned. "Hagen? You say I'm Hagen?" The two of them, one thought the other was coming to steal the diamond. The other thought the other was the sick master, talking to each other like a chicken and a duck, chatting across servers. DeGas, relying on his professional experience, told himself to stay calm and deal with this madman by going along. "I'm just an ordinary private detective," he said as calmly as he could. The bearded man didn't listen to that and interrupted him, saying, "Stop this. Don't you want diamonds? Here you are." Saying this, he pulled out a stone-like object from his candy bag and stuffed it into DeGas. "Here's one for you, get out." As soon as DeGas heard diamond, his head buzzed and his hand took it subconsciously. Just at that moment, the door clicked and was unlocked with a key. Two police officers rushed in, followed by the real Mr. Hagen. "Officer, look, I was just about to enter the door when I heard something about diamonds inside. I think they're in the same gang." Hagen pointed at the two in the room. "It's going to be a big deal." One policeman snatched the candy bag from the bearded man's hand, and another came toward DeGas. DeGas was panicked at the moment. If the diamond in his hand was seen by the police, it would be like jumping into the Yellow River and not being washed away. In the blink of an eye, he recalled a detective movie he had watched before in which the protagonist, when cornered, swallowed the key evidence. So, in a moment of inspiration, he pretended to cough violently, covered his mouth with his hand, and slipped the diamond into his mouth. But before he could swallow it, the thing was in his mouth. It melted, still sweet. Oh my goodness. Man, what's the most expensive thing you've ever eaten in your life? Detective Degas can brag about it all his life. I've eaten diamonds. And sugar tasting. What's this called? This is called knowledge changes destiny. If you have a bit of chemistry, you know that diamonds don't smell like this. So, in this world, don't figure things out too clearly, because many times it doesn't make sense at all. A rich man, unable to control his senseless impulse, steals a bag of candies, which leads to a diamond thief, a confused detective, 2 policemen, and finally makes the detective taste a sky-high candy. You see, the drama of life is often made up of these most insignificant and absurd little things. Well, that's all for today's bizarre case. Thanks for listening to our rainy night ramblings. We'll talk about it next time.